There we go. Hey guys, welcome to our Skill Stability Speaker Spotlight. At Skill Stability, we've created this framework called the Skill Stability Framework to guide business owners. And something that we really focus on is that everything you're building, your growth, your offers, your operation, your service, it all lives inside a cycle. And I'm going to share a graphic in a little bit, but part of this cycle includes your mindset. Your mindset drives this cycle. Your execution moves it goes that's what it makes it go around. Your education is going to continue to sharpen it, but at the center of all of this, and actually in between connections, it's people, right? Like people is the biggest thing. Even right now, even with AI, people remain, for the most part, I think in many of the industries that are going to be visiting us at Skill Stability, it's still one of the biggest aspects, right? And here is where it breaks down for most business owners, that haven't been able to really scale, is this lack of how do we get this part of the engine to work, right? When something's off, when growth's stalling, when operations get messy, when clients are not having the best experience, we normally as business owners try to think about the system, the SOPs and everything, instead of the real issue that might be happening, which could be people. And at Skill Stability, people, whether it's our clients, our teammates, people matter. And today I'm joined with Dr. Attaway. How are you doing, Dr. Attaway?
I'm doing great, Karen. It's good to see you.
Thank you for being here. You're a leadership coach and expert in helping leaders build cultures where people feel appreciated and actually want to stay. And I think this is a huge topic for everybody attending Skill Stability, whether they're getting started in their business, whether they have been doing it for years. I think there's this is never an old topic. It's something that is continually to happen, right? And today we're going to be talking about what your session is going to be at Skill Stability, some of the things that you're doing today to help business owners with this very important topic of people. Before we get started with that, though, I would love for you to share, how do you get for this to be the thing that you're doing now? I think it's such an exciting thing, and obviously we get to be part of it. I get to be part of it as small, but you're actively working on it, and you have been doing it for a while, coaching leaders, helping organizations, grow. How do you get to that?
That story actually goes back to when I was 15 years old, Karen. I was invited by a high school teacher to attend my first leadership conference. And I had no leadership role, no leadership aspirations. He saw something in me that I did not see. And he invited me to go. And I got on a plane, flew to Philadelphia, and attended the first of what would be many conferences over these last going on 4 decades now. I was captivated by the power of leadership, for good or for bad, to accomplish so much more than any one person can do alone. And I've been a student of leadership now for almost 40 years.
And you've been helping business owners on this topic of how do they grow? And I think a lot of it, like as individuals, like we're so complex as human beings, right? Like, I mean, it's crazy, but it's even more complex when we're working together. Business is easy, except for when people get involved, right? Like that's right. The whole focus of that. I'm curious on how this whole appreciation comes into play. Let's go into that a little bit, because I know that your topic is going to be talking about how people can how people can grow their businesses with improving their appreciation. Let's talk a little bit about that. How does that affect businesses? And I know that we were just chatting a little bit ago about the topic of, hiring and firing and people in general. You mentioned data there of like the cost of an individual in a business. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, 100%. When you think about people in your business, you think about hiring, you think about a good fit versus a bad fit. The reality is that a bad hire will end up costing your company's bottom line typically around 2 times their annual salary. That's a lot of money. That's because we didn't hire well at the beginning. As we look at the studies and research that's been done around this, 79% of people who quit a job did not quit over pay or benefits. That's not the reasons that they gave. They quit. 79% say they quit because they did not feel appreciated. That's a problem. That's a culture problem. And leaders create the culture. That's part of what we do. We get to drive the boat and we create the culture that we're going to live in, particularly entrepreneurial leaders. We are responsible for the culture that we're in. So if somebody is saying, hey, I don't feel appreciated, and they go down the street to another business, to another job, we've got to look in the mirror. We've got to ask ourselves, what kind of culture am I creating? We believe that the best cultures, the healthiest cultures, and the best teams are built on appreciation when it's authentic and when it's part of the DNA of a business. And that's what we teach.
Your session at the event, it's going to be called the Appreciation Advantage, Solve Your People Problems. And that's exactly what you're doing right now with many, many businesses today. Tell us a little bit about the type of businesses that are working with appreciation at work, because I think that was one of the most exciting things that I've been like hearing about, just how not only the topic, right, like, which is like, yes, it clicks, like we need to figure out ways to appreciate. For most people, I think for some people it's still unclear because they think that appreciation is just a pat in the back. It's just saying, yes, I appreciate. Let's actually go into that. Like, what do you think it's the biggest misconception that business owners have today when they think that they're appreciating people?
There's a couple that come to mind, Karen. I think that the first one is that words equal appreciation. Most people think if I just give them a pat on the back, I give them a, hey, attaboy, attaway, attagirl, great, then they think that's enough. They think that's appreciation. And the reality is it's not, because that's not what real appreciation looks like. We've done research with 475,000 people all over the world over the years who've taken our assessment to discover their language of appreciation. And what we've discovered is that 44% of people say that their language of appreciation is words of affirmation, right? That's great. But words of affirmation is not, way to go, good job. Those are things you say to your dog, okay? We want to be specific. We want to be personal. I want to say, hey, Karen, you know what? You did such an amazing job on this project. This is the impact that you made. This is the feedback I'm hearing from the people who were touched by this. That's because of you. Wow, amazing job. Now, what have I done? I've made it personal. I've talked about the impact. I've been specific. That is authentic. That's appreciation through words of affirmation. 44% of people say that's their language, which means 56% of people, it's not. If that's all you're using is words.
Yeah. So people are getting it wrong almost 60% of the time in their business today, thinking that is the best way, because it is the most basic, I guess, way to like share your appreciation. What are the other ways?
Yeah. So, another misconception is that recognition is really the same thing as appreciation. That I'm going to recognize your performance and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Your sales were higher than anybody else's this month. Great job. I'm recognizing your performance, but is that really appreciation? Now, recognition and appreciation are different. Recognition is about performance. Appreciation is about the person. If I'm looking at your result survey of you as a member of my team, and I see your language of appreciation is quality time, which is a different language, I'm going to look at that and say, okay, what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, there are dialects to each one of the languages. And your dialect of quality time, if you're, an Xer like me or a boomer and older, you might think quality time means time with your boss, a mentor type relationship, right? Whereas if you're a younger generation, millennials or Zers or Alpha, they see quality time differently. They don't want quality time with the boss. They want quality time with their peers. Just because quality time is their language does not mean it's quality time with you, right? And so understanding that concept is a way of understanding that individual. People want to be seen, heard, known, and valued at their core. And understanding their language of appreciation is one way for them to feel seen, heard, known, and valued. So a quality time is a second language that when I see that and knowing, hey, 26% of people, that's their language. About a fourth of the people on your team, quality time is their language, but how you do it matters.
I think you just shared something that if anybody here that's listening today, maybe you're watching this on replay, this is key. I think something that you mentioned just now of like appreciation being different than recognition of the metrics of the things that people are achieving, because you can show appreciation even, I would challenge, can we show appreciation even when maybe they're not succeeding, right, in the metrics
Yes.
that they're supposed to, their KPIs, right? I think what happens for an employee, right, if you're working for a company and you're having a rough month, right, like something is happening, can we still receive that appreciation when it's not about the metrics? I think that's the focus on people, that it's very different. And I love that you just shared this, because obviously this topic is something that is very important, for at least 400,000 people to take an assessment, right, over the course of how many years. This is definitely a topic that is important. Some of the companies that are working with you right now, can you share the names of some of the companies? Because I think that is relevant to small, medium-sized business owners that are wanting to grow and scale their businesses at scale and stability, right? This is the main topic. It's not the small businesses that are looking for these answers. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, we've worked with companies over the last 15 years, from Caterpillar to Microsoft to Tesla to Meta, a lot of these names that and what we're doing is we're taking the principles that we have learned working with these companies, and we're saying, what does this look like in the small and mid-sized business world? Because we believe that people are people, as the great theologian Dr. Seuss said, people are people no matter how small. And so understanding that people dynamics don't change, people are wired in a certain way. And we want to help you to build a healthy culture, no matter the size of your team, no matter the size of your business. We just started working with Daimler Trucks, the Savannah Bananas we worked with, like so many different organizations over time. And a lot of times small and mid-sized businesses will look at a list like that and say, oh my goodness, we're not near that size. We could never. Of course you can't. You start where you are. And that's why we have rolled out so many of the new initiatives that we're doing to help and come alongside businesses, no matter their size, teams, no matter their size, to help them apply the languages of appreciation into the culture of their business. Because we believe that makes a tremendous difference on your bottom line. When companies adopt the frameworks that we're talking about with these languages, and they make this part of their culture, we see on average a 22% increase in productivity. 22% increase in productivity. That is with no additional headcount. I don't know a business owner who would not be interested in a 22% increase in productivity. We believe we can help you, based on our experience, lower your churn of your team by 20%. That is a dramatic impact on your bottom line when you're thinking about a 2x cost of a bad hire, of churn of their annual salary. We can help you lower that by 20%, because we're going to help you create an environment on purpose. We're going to help you create a culture that's healthy and sustainable over time, where people feel seen, heard, known, and valued, and where they lean in.
Is there such a thing as appreciation done wrong?
100%. 100%.
I'm assuming a lot of like business owners think like, oh yeah, like I'm showing appreciation to my team, and maybe they're like completely missing, the line here. What have you seen in the studies of appreciation gone wrong, like, or being done, inappropriately?
I think one big key is when you're speaking the wrong language. I was talking with a guy a few months ago who oversees the bailiffs and security for the courthouses in the city in Oklahoma. And it's about 250 people that he leads, right? And so I said, well, what does appreciation look like with your team right now? We were talking about the framework and applying it. So what does it look like now? And he said, trinkets and snacks. They're just giving us trinkets and snacks, and they think that's enough. What's he saying? He's saying that they're using the language of tangible gifts. Well, 9% of people, statistically, according to our research, 9% of people say that's their language of appreciation, which means 91% of people say it's not. And yet, this is what we see so often. Reward and recognition companies, 94% of companies in the US and North America have some type of recognition and reward program in place. What are they doing most often? Tangible gifts. They're hitting 9%. Those people are like, yeah, more of that. The other 91 are saying, thanks for the
Maybe.
certificate, the
Yeah.
trophy. Thanks for the pizza party. But it doesn't really fill their tank.
Isn't that crazy? If anybody's watching and is like actually doing this, like there is a better way. There is a better way. So you're not,
Yes.
this is not for us to just like, judge you right now or for you to feel judged. There is a solution for this. Talk to us about how can people figure this out? Like, but what is the best way? Obviously, one of them is coming to Scale with Stability. So you can hear from
Yes.
Dr. Attaway how to implement this. But I also wanted to share an opportunity for those that are like still, I'm not sure if I'm attending, but this is crucial for me in my business if I want to grow it. I know so many people are like right now trying to figure out, is this the best use of my time? I'm trying to like figure out how to like be present in my business, but also I understand that. So what is the best way to figure out how my team how can I understand how I appreciate my team?
The first place I would start is with the assessment. This is a tool that we created to help you discover your language of appreciation, how you're wired. Self-awareness is key for any leader, any business owner. Start with you. Understand your language first. Then give the assessment to your team. I use this as part of the hiring process. We were talking about this earlier. This is part of onboarding, right? It's part of the hiring process for us. I want to make sure by the time they have day one, we know what their language of appreciation is, right? In addition to some other assessments that we use. This is important because it helps me understand them. So I would say if you're looking for a first step, take the assessment, say, hey, I'm going to learn about myself and I'm going to learn about my team. And then discover how you can begin to implement that. The book is great. The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, fantastic book that will walk you through understanding what the languages are, how to apply them, how not to apply them, all important information. And then we can help you take your next step in community. We want to help you build a culture, not just in a one-off type way. We want to walk alongside of you and help you to build something that's going to scale over time into a very stable and healthy place.
Dr. Attaway, by the way, I'm going to share, I know that I requested a QR code because I want to make sure that I share this with anybody and everybody that's going through that. We were just sharing in a previous session, how important it is to understand the culture that you're building, the DNA of your business. And this starts with not only the KPIs, right? Like not only understanding like the foundation of how do we work as a business, but also what are one of the most crucial components, how can we drive this component even further? And I think just the fact that you can increase your productivity in your work, your results by 20% by implementing something as simple, right, as appreciation. We're obviously getting it wrong as a society. So I wanted to share this QR code for anybody that is wanting to take advantage of the assessment. This is going to be about, take a screenshot of this, take a picture, make sure that you use it, just because this is the first step, right? This is the first step to understand how do you get appreciation, how do your team is appreciated, and then start talking about that language. Now, let's talk a little bit about the session that you're going to host at Scale with Stability. You're actually doing, you're doing a keynote from stage, right? You're going to be sharing more on that. And then you're also going to do a workshop. Am I correct about that?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. Absolutely.
Okay. So you're going to get, or we're going to get double opportunity of not only getting to understand, what this appreciation and all the studies that you're running behind the scenes as you're working with all these companies, but also have an intimate setting where people can work on this for their business. So if they choose that this is one of the things, they're bringing their HR team, if their CEOs are coming, I would love to know who this session would be for, first off.
The session is for anybody who wants to build a healthy culture. And that does not depend on the title that you hold, because every one of us can contribute to a healthy culture no matter our level in the organization. You simply have to choose for it to be so. One thing, particularly for business owners, I would say, is that one trap I see a lot of people stepping into is they feel like they are a victim of the culture that they have, right? And oh, I don't know why the people are like that. I don't know why they act like that. I don't know why they do that. I don't know. And they act as though they're a victim of their culture.
Yep.
If you hear only one thing, I want you to hear this. You get to choose. One of the beautiful parts of entrepreneurship is we get to choose the culture that we live in. We get to design it. I just want you to design it on purpose. I want you to design it in a healthy and sustainable way over time. That's my goal for you. So my sessions are going to be around that. The main stage talk is going to be around what it looks like to live in a toxic workplace, right? And I think this is something that many of us who've spent any time at all in corporate can relate to. We understand what toxic feels like, what it smells like, and we immediately are repelled by it. And yet when we go create our own thing, what do we so often do? We replicate what we left. We replicate the things that we didn't like because that's just what we know. We believe there's a better way. And so that's what we talked about in the first talk. In the breakout session, we're going to actually dive in. This is going to be a real workshop where we're going to talk about you discovering your language of appreciation. You're going to take the assessment there, right? So I'm going to challenge you. If you're in that breakout, I want you to bring your laptop because we're going to have you take the assessment in the workshop. And then we're going to talk about the results. We're going to talk about things to do, things not to do. What does this look like with your team and how we can help you build that culture? Building a culture is not something you do once. It's not something you have an initiative. You talk about it once, everybody takes the assessment, and then you're done. No, building a culture takes time. And we want to come alongside you and help you do it in a sustainable way.
You know, when I'm doing these interviews, my goal for all of our attendees at Skill Stability is like, what can be the biggest ROI, right, that you can get as you're attending the event? One of the things that I hate the most about attending conferences is just, although connection, you know, building networking, that's always great. As a business owner, you know, that you're investing not only money, but your time, which is the most valuable, right, resource that we have these days. Attending an event, especially for 3 days, you know, going all the way to Searcy, Arkansas, you know, all these things. Like, as a host, I want to make sure that we're constantly creating opportunities to not only 2x, 3x, 10x, you know, whatever is the ROI that we want to create, but that we're creating this long-lasting impact. And if there's one thing in your business outside of like the 20% that we just talked about, right? Like 20% that you're going to reduce your churn, 20% you're going to increase your results, all of this. If there's one thing that we're going to be able to create after sessions like this is a business that we can actually enjoy to be in. Yes. I think that's the biggest opportunity, right?
100%. 100%. You have the opportunity to take what we're going to talk about, implement it with your team in your business, and begin to create the culture that you started the business to have, right? Nobody started a business because they want to be in something that they hate. You know, I hear people all the time complain about their jobs. And you know, the most tragic ones is when they own the business. You created the job that you hate. It does not have to be that way. There's a better way.
Man, if this is not convincing you to at least, you know, go and do the assessment, I don't know what will. I would love to have as many people as possible attend not only Skill Stability, but this session specifically. So if this is something that is like, oh man, like I've been feeling like the culture that I'm building is not there. I've been feeling like the people that I appreciate the most, the conversation's still around money. You know, it happens, right? Like one of the things that sure. You guys talk a lot we're talking about during the whole appreciation topic is how many people are still fighting, especially if we think about different industries like home services, right? Like they're still fighting to retain talent. And the only tool that they're able to use to retain that talent when somebody gives them an offer is money. And money is great. You know, it's obviously something that's needed in the day-to-day to live. Talk to us about that opportunity, that understanding the right appreciation, how to appreciate your team also has as a tool, you know, to retain this talent.
You know, I think money is the go-to for a whole lot of people when it comes to retention. You know, if I pay them more, they'll stay longer. Seems to be the idea. And that's understandable at one level. The problem is most managers think employees leave for more money. Most business owners think that's why somebody leaves. In fact, our research shows that 89% of managers and business owners think employees leave for more money. You want to know what the actual number is? 12%.
Wow.
12% of team members say they leave for more money. Okay, money is an incredibly short-term motivator. And that's not just me talking. That's over 100 years of research. Money and financial benefits have been shown over and over to be very, very ineffective satisfiers. Now, is it important that we pay our people well? Yes, 100%. If you don't pay them well, then they will leave. And that's for a different problem, right? But the reality is throwing more money at the problem doesn't solve the problem when you diagnose it incorrectly. I want to make sure you've got the right prescription for the problem that you actually have, right? And what we have found is that appreciation is a far greater problem and a much cheaper problem to solve. People are throwing money at the problem and thinking this is going to solve it, and they're giving unnecessary raises. You don't have to do that. There's a better way. All the languages of appreciation that we talk about, these are not high cost initiatives, but they are high intentionality initiatives. You've got to be intentional. It's not just going to happen. You are not going to wake up one day and say, oh my goodness, wow, our culture is built on appreciation. I don't know how that happened, but here it is. Nobody does that. It never happens. You've got to be intentional and purposeful. And that's what we teach.
Wouldn't that be amazing, to just wait
yes.
and then just like, yeah, my company is the best, and it just God built that way. Right. I love this topic, Dr. Attaway. I'm super excited specifically for you to be able to lead this session. I think the background that you bring of consulting and supporting not only business owners, but leaders, being a church leader as well, bringing this faith aspect component into the day-to-day. I think that's exactly what we want to see at Scaled Stability, because at the end of the day, our businesses are really a gift, right, from God. Like
yes.
It's something that we need to be good stewards with. And I think people are one of the biggest elements in it. I'm not saying that every business necessarily has to be preaching the gospel, but I think we need to act like we understand what the gospel is all about, and having this appreciation towards people, knowing that this is exactly what we were put in earth for. It's one of the, I think, the biggest callings that we can have, and the results of that, the impact, that this will have not only in our business, but in the world. I think it's such a needed thing. So thank you so much for bringing this. And, I know there's a lot of energy and effort put into hosting sessions, creating, the right rooms. And I know you're crafting, an impactful session for everybody that's going to be in that intimate setting. So if you're watching and you're attending Scale Stability, which is happening in 20 days, I think right now.
20 days, yeah.
Crazy timing. I mean, the days are flying. We're going to be able to have that opportunity to have an intimate setting, and then obviously have Dr. Attaway from stage sharing with everybody. So if you're picking your breakout session and you're looking at this video, this might be it. This might be your session that is going to change the direction of your business. So make sure that you book that. If you haven't bought your ticket yet, please do it. Like, what are you waiting for? Go to scaledstability.com/summit. We would love to see you there, and we cannot wait to spend time together. I appreciate you, Dr. Attaway, and thank you so much for everything that you're bringing to the event.
Well, I appreciate you too, Karen. I'm looking forward to it.